Round 6 of the Formula 1 World Championship, the European Grand Prix at Nürburgring, home ground for Michael Schumacher, the man who was leading the Drivers' Championship going into this race. Schumacher with 36 points, 14 ahead of McLaren's Mika Häkkinen, with David Coulthard of McLaren third on 20. Ferrari led the Constructors' Championship by 7 points from McLaren. A huge crowd gathered at the Nürburgring, over 140,000. Down on the grid, the cars ready to go. David Coulthard having snatched pole position, his first pole since the middle of the 1998 season. But significantly, there'd been no win from pole position in Formula 1 since Häkkinen at Hungary 11 races previously. Coulthard and Michael Schumacher shared the front row. It was Mika Häkkinen, defending champion, who won at Nürburgring in 1998, who lined up on row 2 alongside Rubens Barrichello. Ralf Schumacher and Jarno Trulli were on row 3. Behind them came the Italian Giancarlo Fisichella on row 4. Fisichella, who hadn't picked up a point since the second race of the season. Alongside him, Eddie Irvine in the Jaguar, yet to pick up a point in this year 2000. Jacques Villeneuve, the winner in 1996 and 97 for Williams, was alongside Heinz-Harald Frentzen, who was on pole a year ago. From the start, Mika Häkkinen blasted away from the second row, was through past his teammate Coulthard and past Michael Schumacher as well as they headed down to the first corner. Coulthard just managed to hold off Rubens Barrichello for third. Jarno Trulli was the man in trouble in the middle of the pack. He skated out of contention before the end of the first lap. The end of lap 1 of 67. The surprise, Villeneuve's appearance in 5th place, having moved up from 9th. Häkkinen leading after that blistering start. Schumacher just half a second behind, and 3.9 seconds covered the top 6. Heinz-Harald Frentzen, another German on home ground, another early departure, ending Jordan's interest in the race. Meanwhile, another German was going very well indeed. Michael Schumacher, 122.269, although that fastest lap still slower than Häkkinen's mark set a year previously, 121.282. Schumacher pressing Häkkinen for the lead. These two in a class of their own at the head of the field. Further back, Fisichella alongside Villeneuve. And the Italian moved up to 5th place. Meantime, the rain clouds were threatening, closing in all round the circuit, and Schumacher was threatening Häkkinen's lead. Right on his tail, waited for his moment to pounce, spotted the opportunity and took it. The crowd roared its approval. Michael Schumacher leading a race in Germany. It was at this point that the rain started to fall in earnest. Schumacher leading, 11 of 67 completed, Häkkinen having lost a second on that last lap. Ferrari led from McLaren, while McLaren was holding off Ferrari for 3rd place. In all, 18 seconds covering the top 6, as Schumacher set a brilliantly fast pace. Sauber were the first team out with the wet tyres. Barrichello, meantime, challenged Coulthard for 3rd. And the Ferrari had the power and Barrichello the determination to snatch that 3rd place from the McLaren. Coulthard's car obviously ailing as it dropped back behind Barrichello. Into trouble went Jos Verstappen, the Dutchman, in the Arrows. Marc Genet, Spaniard in the Minardi, managed to get back on the circuit. And conditions were becoming more and more difficult. Herbert, the first man into the pits at the end of lap 12 for rain tyres. Michael Schumacher determined to stay out as long as possible and press home his advantage over Häkkinen. Schumacher, the acknowledged rainmaster. Meanwhile, Pedro Diniz found conditions a little too tricky. Coulthard into the pits at the end of lap 14. He'd come in from 4th place. Now he was down to 8th. Michael Schumacher came in at the end of the next lap, lap 15. With Häkkinen following him in, there's a chance for Barrichello to take over the lead. This was a straight battle between Ferrari and McLaren pit crews. Schumacher was underway in just over 12 seconds. McLaren took a little longer with Häkkinen. In all, he lost another 3.7 seconds while he was stationary. Schumacher came out to resume in 3rd place, just ahead of David Coulthard. Häkkinen dropped to 7th. Barrichello, the next pits caller, from 1st place, end of lap 16. Also in at the same time, Ralf Schumacher, who had been running 2nd. Barrichello emerged in 8th place. Ralf Schumacher had to slot into 10th. Häkkinen went past his teammate for 2nd. David Coulthard not having a happy race. Barrichello, meantime, was aiming to get past Pedro de la Rosa. Manoeuvre completed, de la Rosa ran wide and the Ferrari went back into 4th place. 3-prong collision here. Ralf Schumacher losing his rear wing. Eddie Irvine also caught up and losing his rear wing too. And Jos Verstappen. The Dutchman's race over after he'd been going well in the Arrows. Barrichello in for another pit stop. This lap 33. Michael Schumacher next in the pits 2 laps later. A stop which meant that he lost the lead to Mika Häkkinen. But Häkkinen too had to call into the pits. End of lap 45. Schumacher stormed back to 1st place. Häkkinen down to 2nd. Now the German crowd could see that Schumacher was on course for victory. Coulthard's final stop. End of lap 45. That dropped him to 5th. Villeneuve retired after 46 laps. Barrichello came into the pits for a 3rd stop after 51. This put him down to 4th place, just behind David Coulthard. Schumacher leading, Häkkinen 2nd, but Häkkinen then delayed by back markers. And Michael Schumacher now had the breathing space to sit right the way through to the finish. On the last lap though, Coulthard and Barrichello were still disputing 3rd place. Coulthard, with a car which had a series of problems throughout, had to use all his racecraft to hold off the Brazilian. But Michael Schumacher came through with a substantial lead, driving a last lap very conservatively and winning to the delight of his Ferrari crew. Michael Schumacher, the race winner, congratulated by his teammate Rubens Barrichello. The classification showing Schumacher's 39th win of his career in just a fraction over 1 hour 42, 13.8 seconds ahead of Mika Häkkinen. Everybody else at least a lap down. David Coulthard in the 2nd McLaren joining them on the podium. In 4th place, Rubens Barrichello. 5th, Giancarlo Fisichella, and Pedro de la Rosa picking up his 1st point since his first Grand Prix 22 races before. Among the notably not classified drivers, Jacques Villeneuve, Eddie Irvine, Ralf Schumacher and Heinz-Harald Frentzen, all of whom had been expected to do well at the Nürburgring. The Drivers' Championship, with 6 races completed, Michael Schumacher leading by 18 points from Mika Häkkinen, with David Coulthard a further 4 points behind. Rubens Barrichello, Ralf Schumacher and Giancarlo Fisichella, the only other drivers into double figures. As far as the Constructors' Championship was concerned, it's Ferrari with 62 points, McLaren with 52. A 10-point lead for Ferrari. Williams, Benetton have 15 and 10 respectively. Jordan just 9 points from 6 races, with a lot of ground to make up if they're going to reach the standard that they set in 1999. So, Michael Schumacher the winner, and among the presentation party, the German Chancellor and the European Commissioner.
Obviously none of us front riders wanted to go into the pits and take the chance to pick up rain tyres and find out you go slower, as it was not a clear rain yet. We knew it would come, but whether it was already this one or whether it would have stopped and start later on again, nobody knew. So it was difficult, but obviously some drivers took on rain tyres, and as soon as we saw they go faster, we went straight in.
Second place for Mika Häkkinen after a great start had put him ahead of Coulthard and Schumacher.
Yeah, I knew that's the only chance, what I have to do, and it's a great possibility to make a very good start, and you can immediately improve your position in a race, and I was happy to do that, because the disappointment what I had yesterday in qualifying was basically fixed.
David Coulthard third, but mystified about his car's problems.
I think my getaway itself wasn't too bad, but I was just slow to react. And straight away I was struggling with the rear of the car, which became even more difficult when it was in the damp conditions. And then of course once it went full wet, so it was definitely one of my most difficult races. So I guess in those circumstances, fortunate to get third.
Michael Schumacher leads the Drivers' Championship, Ferrari the Constructors, as Formula One moves on to Monaco.